I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you all for coming today to the special meeting on today, Wednesday, January 23rd, 2019. We have one item on the agenda, consideration to approve year-end account balance transfers. Bob?
Okay, I handed out the schedule of transfers, and just to go over some of the items that I think you'd probably have questions on. The debits are the deficit accounts, the credits are the surplus accounts. So the first one that I looked at was professional services, $93,000. If you remember last year, we had budget. We originally requested $150,000. It was cut to $125,000. Historically, it runs about $180,000, $190,000. It's over by $94,000, and that's because of contract negotiations and legal expenses. The next one is Park and Rec. Remember, she started a new program called the Before and After School Program. So there's additional expenses in the program's expenses, but the revenue is on the revenue side. So she made money on it, but I can't tell you exactly how much she made on that program. But that's the result of having the additional expenses in Park and Rec for the Before and After School Program. Moving down, you got the police department. That's in a deficit of $103,000, and there's two components of that. Overtime was about $71,000 of that, and then the dispatchers got increases, and it's a smaller amount, but the salaries are in the wage contingency, which is on the other side when I get to the credits. So we didn't move, it doesn't get moved over, so it causes the account to go over, but we have the credits on the right-hand side to absorb that. Moving further down, fleet maintenance was over by $42,000, and it's a result of snow and ice, and also the highway trucks with maintenance on their trucks. We've got a fleet that's old. They're looking to do some, for this particular year, some big purchases, which we're going to have to consider in the capital program. They have 13 trucks, and probably 9 of them are at least 15, 20 years old. So you're going to have maintenance on those trucks. Public Works was over by about $21,000, but a little over $10,000 was software purchases that went into his account that normally goes into data processing. And if you go up to the right-hand side, data processing was a positive $24,000. So it should have been in that account, but it was posted to Public Works, so that's an offset there. Building maintenance, they're down one person. They cut back a few years ago, but there's more because of the maintenance on the buildings. They have overtime, and that $25,000 deficit is a result of that. And then the tree warden, the bulk of that $44,000 is the May storm that we had, that
microburst?
Yep. So going to the right-hand side, two of the big items are employee benefits. We have a surplus in there of $658,000. There's a few components of that. First of all, we switched medical brokers, and at the time we were doing a budget, we knew we were bidding out the broker, but we didn't know who it was going to be and what the fees are going to be. And when we did get Terry DeMatti from Siegel Consulting, she's already with the Board of Ed. She waived the fee to the town. So we saved $70,000 there. There was a prepayment in the prior year that really didn't happen until the end of the year before, but after we prepared the budget, and it was a prepayment of 2 months, which they gave us credit this year on in 6/30/18, and that was $262,000. So now we're a little over $300,000, and the balance is a result of moving the unions, the rest of them, over to the partnership plan, which was cheaper on a monthly basis for the employees. So that's pretty much the reconciliation of that number. Miscellaneous charges and transfers, it shows $109,000 surplus, and there's wage contingency in there for the police, which we didn't use because we just started the negotiations. So, and there was also dispatch contingency in there, so those numbers don't get moved over to the different accounts during the course of the year. Also, at the same time, we have in there the classified salaries increases that Matt decides in July. So all of that adds up to basically that overage at that point. The Board of Ed returned $903,000, like a little bit more than they said they were gonna return. So, and then debt service is a $55,000. Normally that should pretty much zero out. But when we were doing the down payments on the short-term debt, I just wanted to hold back a little bit just in case I needed a buffer. And it, not for this purpose, but for the debt service. And it wound up being 55,000 surplus. So net result is the contingency you can see on the bottom left-hand side, the balancing number is 1.22990. That's the surplus on the expenditure side. So, and then the revenues will have, how much was the revenues roughly?
It was $400,000.
About $400,000 on the revenue side in a surplus position. So overall, we're going to be 1.6, so good for the year.
So the 902 for the Board of Ed, remember they have that special thing where they can keep a little bit separate? Is that out of here already?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That they already
That's
take?
net of that. Mhm.
That's, okay. All right.
Yep.
Some of these are rather substantial leftovers, if you will. Do you see this as a trend? I mean, I don't recall from the previous year, you know, but like say the health department had 47,000 left, social services had, you know, 15,000. Were those?
Well, no, the social services, she may not have that many evictions this year. So that's going to cause, because when you have an eviction, you got to store their furniture for 30 days and then you have to dispose of it. And and she's been pretty good at trying to get donations to pay for a lot of her services. I wouldn't consider cutting that account because you never know when those donations don't come in.
Oh, of course. That's kind of what I was getting at with
The
some
health
of these.
department, you know, she has that, the one
The
employee she's
contract,
never
right,
hired.
yep.
All right, and that's pretty much, she hires part-timers. And it's come down, it's been in this range, 42, 45, 47. And I think we even cut back a little bit on her, well, this fiscal year, 19. So,
Now, boards and commissions, that's a 16,000 left. There's charter now. Do we have it, I don't even remember if there's money in there. Did we include
I
money?
think we put
the
in for this
charter?
year, and I don't think it was back then.
There might have been some back then.
There might have been, you know, like $5,000 in there for that, and then it wasn't used. You know. But I mean, planning and zoning at 4,000. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I mean the registrar vote is 4,000, and then town insurance. I mean, those are numbers that these are estimates like a year and a half, 2 years out.
Right.
You know, so.
Bob, and one question, miscellaneous charges and transfers, 109,000.
The bulk of that is the wage contingency. It was, let's see.
Probably should.
107, no, that's not it. What's that?
Probably should combine contingency and wage adjustments. We used to do 2 separate transfers, one for
Yeah.
all wages and then one for all everything else. The auditors told us a couple years ago, just do the departments as a whole, like it's presented to you now. It's a lot cleaner for them. So we probably don't need the 2 separate accounts anymore. 'Cause
Yeah. So the two accounts, the contingency is at 44,000, and the wage adjustments at 75,000 surplus, both of them. And then you had one account, the town hall expense was over a little bit, so it netted out to 109.
The Board of Ed, that's another significant amount. Was there anything?
Well, the reason why they got cut on their revenue side, that's the reason why that number's, so at the early part of the fiscal year, remember that 2 years ago, when we had the biannual budget. We didn't get the budget until October. We had meetings, and we looked to see how much their effect was gonna be. And they held back on hiring, they held back on expenses, and they said, okay, we're gonna return $862,000. So it's the 862 plus, and the difference.
I just didn't know if they had something significant they didn't fund this year
No.
because they were afraid to, or.
Do they normally return money year over
Yeah,
year?
but not $900,000.
No, right, so is it more than $50,000?
Correct, yep, yeah, I mean, normally it would be, like you said, 40 or 50, but the 862 was because we lost the revenue from the state on the ECS dollars.
So then they come.
We planned for it.
We planned for it.
To lose it, but we actually got it.
No, that year we didn't get it.
No.
We didn't get the money, but we got the money through them not spending it. So they held back on hirings.
Right.
There were a number of teachers that they didn't renew their contracts on, the ones without their,
It happened after the approved budget, remember? And then
Right.
They came in and they made concessions to make up some of the difference, because we were looking at
$1
almost
million.
$800. Yeah, it was almost $1 million, remember? And then they made the concessions, and then what happened is, then the following year, the East, it all got put back in, right? Brian?
Mhm.
So that's where the money came from, they made the concessions that year.
So bottom line, what was the amount that's left with the close of this year?
well,
You
you've
said
got
it's gonna be
in
a
expenses,
million.
1.22, all right, and then another 400,000 in extra revenue that we weren't expecting.
Okay,
So 1.6,
and we're putting that into the fund balance?
that goes into the fund balance.
Okay. And so do you know what that puts our fund balance at approximately, or what percent?
No, I don't, not offhand.
I think the plan is to use it to pay down short-term.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
When are we going to do that?
July is the next maturity? Whenever the next maturity is.
It's early July, yeah. Because we did it in November.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's probably July. It's definitely July. It's out of this fiscal year.
And the balances come down from 9.5 to, what is it, 3.8 or 3.6?
I think it's 3.8,
Yeah.
3.8.
Oh, wow.
The short-term side, yeah.
Significant.
That is.
Yeah.
We did talk about setting money aside in some capital or for some infrastructure needs. Is that something that we're still going to do, or still gonna talk about, or wait till this budget season, see how things go?
Like, to me, it makes sense to talk about it as soon as we get we should talk about it, think about how we want to structure it, but then use the money today to get rid of short-term debt.
Oh, yeah,
Mhm.
no,
Right, and then kind of
definitely.
look into
Or
Sure.
if either the short-term debt or add another 250 or 500,000 to capital non-recurring.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not borrowing, yep.
I mean, you can almost make that motion here, make this motion here to accept the transfers, and then make a second motion to reduce the contingency of 1.22 by 200,000 or 250,000, and apply it to capital non-recurring.
Do we have to do that tonight, Bob, or can we?
Okay.
You can probably wait,
Yeah, okay. All right.
yeah.
So can I, Brian?
But you know what, Bob? If you do that, it's outside of, because they're gonna
Oh, with financial.
finalize,
statements.
yeah, so they couldn't, yeah, then the financial report will be complete, and it'll go to the fund balance, and you gotta take it from the fund balance again. It's one way or the other.
Sensitive to Brian's needing to get out of here. It seems to me we might want to think about it, right, kind of figure out where we are with our short-term debt, where we're coming in, and all the capital requests. And then it'll be a little less elegant, but we may have to take it out of
Okay.
fund balance.
Yeah.
Because we also have $450,000 for the chiller, right? Where does that money come from? I assume that got approved, right?
Okay, any other questions? I then entertain a motion to approve as recommended by the comptroller the year-end transfers for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2018.
I'd make that motion, or second it, whichever.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second that motion?
Go ahead.
Thank you very much.
Too bad.